So now I'm going to show you the events administration side of Localist. So the first page we're going to go to is New Event. And this is if you wanted to manually enter just a single event from the administrative side. So name, pretty self-explanatory. Let's use one of my favorite examples, Ice Cream Social. And for description, as it says, we do recommend that you keep the character limit on the description below 400 characters. We actually don't impose any kind of character limit. This is just a suggestion. This description field from the administrative side accepts all HTML. So if you wanted to embed a video or do any kind of styling in the description, you can do that. For start date, instead of messing around with drop downs and clicking all over the place, we try to keep your hands near the keyboard. So we made our date field very, very smart. So instead of needing to click on a month and then a day, you can simply type tomorrow and it knows today is Thursday, September 13th. So it knows tomorrow is Friday the 14th. I can say next Tuesday and it knows the 18th. If I wanted to, I could actually type in the numbers. So I could say 9/21 and it assumes 2012, or I could say 9/21/13 and it knows September 21st, 2013. Similarly with times, I can say 2p 1a. So this is quite a long Ice Cream Social. It's going to be running from 2 p.m. to 1 a.m. And for recurrence, a couple things to mention there. You can have it recur daily. So we can say, okay, this Ice Cream Social is happening every day until, let's say, 9/26. So now we know it's going to this event is going to recur from Saturday, September 21st to Thursday, September 26th. And I can even uncheck specific days. So if Monday and Tuesday the Ice Cream Social isn't happening, it won't create dates for those days. And I'll show you a bit later on how to actually modify recurrence settings. With keywords, these are actually not displayed anywhere. They're typically recommended for common misspellings of words. With Ice Cream Social, I think everyone knows how to spell that, but a good example is theater. Some people spell it like that. Some people spell it like this. So if you have both examples in the keywords field, it will ensure that no matter what the title of the event is, if someone accidentally spells it differently, they'll still see this event in the results. Tags are very similar to keywords, except they are actually displayed publicly. So this is a great way to group events together. If, for example, you had different groups on campus hosting Ice Cream Socials and you wanted to bring them all together with a tag. So if someone was just wanting to find all the Ice Cream Socials on campus, of which I hope there are many, you can tag them all with the same tag, and then everyone can find them. The URL name is automatically generated based on the title of the event. So you can see here the title of the event is Ice Cream Social. So by default, it's going to be giving it a URL of Ice Cream Social, like that. If you just leave it blank, that's what it will do. But if you wanted to make it a little more memorable, you could also define it yourself. And I'll show, if we hit save now, we do have enough information to actually save the event. When we view the event, you can see it says /event/ice cream. So that is the URL that you defined. So going back to admin, you saw there I clicked save. So just to kind of go over some additional information that's been added. At the top of all content in Localist, you see a blue status bar, and this is telling you the current status of that content. So in this case, since it's an event, we can see it says this non-recurring event is live. And if you wanted to quickly just jump to that public-facing event, you can click the View Event link. Or if you wanted to actually see the log, an audit log of all the changes that have happened on that event, you can do that there. And you'll notice that even though we have multiple dates, it says this event is non-recurring. Localist only considers an event recurring if it has a regularly scheduled date. So because it's Saturday, Sunday, Wednesday, Thursday, it doesn't consider that a regular interval, so it doesn't consider it a recurring event. And I'll touch a bit more on the recurring settings a bit later. So external URL, this is if the event has its own website or it has a URL to a flyer, you can define that here. So just for example's sake, we'll say icecreamsocial.com, my favorite. Facebook URL. This is a very cool field. This allows you to link any events that are listed on Facebook with the event in Localist. So for example, let's say a fraternity at your school has posted an ice cream social on Facebook and 350 students have said they're going on Facebook. You can actually paste the URL of that Facebook event into this. And when you view the event, it will actually show all of those students as going on this people going list. We can see right now it says no people going as I just created the event. So if I do say I'm going to an event, obviously will show up here. But if you link it to that Facebook event, you'll also see those 350 additional students appear in that list. So it's a great way to show a lot of activity around an event. The event type is built on your overall taxonomy, and we'll go over in another video how to set up that taxonomy in Localist filters. But as you can see, there are many choices here, and you can select multiple if you'd like. For department, very similar to event type. You can choose your various departments if they apply for this event, and you can assign multiple as well. And lastly, for group, if you have, as I said earlier, if you have a fraternity or an honors club, anything like that, if they're sponsoring the event, you can select them from that list. So event place, this actually references your list of places associated with your platform. And in another video, we'll go over how to actually add those places. But for all intents and purposes, for what we're seeing now, this allows you to skip needing to know the address of a venue, or you don't need to know where it appears on a map. All you have to know is the name. So as soon as I start typing, we can say, okay, this is happening at the arcade. As soon as we choose that, you see the address field disappears. And it also, it does a lot of great things. So if we hit save, the event is now associated with the arcade. So if we click view event now, we can see it associated it with the arcade. We automatically know the address, and it's showing up on Google Maps. So all we had to know was the name. Localist handled the rest. A great way to quickly add an event and give it a lot of context around the location. The other cool thing is if I click the arcade here, it actually takes me to the profile for the venue itself. So you can see it's this great, gives a great description of what the venue is like, and you can also see all the upcoming events happening at the arcade, including, if you go far enough, you'll see the Ice Cream Social event that we just added. So as the date gets closer and these times go by, they will be moved to the recent events field, and eventually, in about a year or so, the Ice Cream Social will show up. And the last thing to mention on the place is the room. So this is just for informational purposes. It's not tied to any kind of profile. If you wanted to specify a room in the arcade, you could do that. So what if the event, if the place isn't in the system? Let's say you start typing the name of a venue, and it's not appearing. You can see there's still this use theater place choice. So if I choose that, it's saying, okay, I'll let you associate the event with theater place, but I'm not sure what the address is, so you'll have to tell me that. So we can say, if we enter in any address, now when we hit save, the great thing is it's still going to show the address on Google Maps, because any address that's entered will actually do a reverse lookup to find where that is on Google Maps. The one thing you don't get is the venue profile. So you'll see here it shows it, it's just not linked. It won't go to a venue profile. So not quite as useful, but certainly compared to needing to manually enter even more information, it's very, very simple to show the place associated with an event. With uploading photos, we make it very, very simple. We have a really smart cropping algorithm, so you don't need to worry about cropping the photo ahead of time. The only thing to mention here is we do have a 5 megabyte limit on any images being uploaded. That's a rather large size, so there's pretty much no scenario you would run into where you would need to shrink it. Let's say the photo is already in the system. Let's say a previous event was uploaded and it has a similar photo. You can actually browse for those photos by clicking this ellipse button here, and then go down and find one that's appropriate. Let's say a crowd of people here. So when you click the ID, it actually will populate this field with the photo ID, and that's all you need to do. You don't need to upload a new photo. You can just use the one that's already in the system. So moving along to ticketing. The ticket price is just a flat text field. It allows you to share with your users how much an event is. If an event is free, we actually recommend that you leave this blank, and I'll show you why a bit later. So let's say for example, the ticket's $40, and we will give a link to the ticket. So now when we hit save and view the event, you'll see there's this buy tickets link that appears. So this is for your users to, in addition to clicking I'm going, they can also buy tickets right from the platform. But let's say you do need a ticket, and let's say it's free. All you have to do is take out this ticket price, but leave the link in. And instead of saying buy tickets, it will actually say register. So Localist is smart in that it knows if a price isn't entered, it's probably a free event, so you won't be buying tickets to a free event. So we'll say register instead. And just to jump back to photo, you can see this bounding box here. So now that the photo is uploaded, if I wanted to center it a little better, I can do that with this bounding box. You can see these custom fields here. I will just briefly go over the purpose of these. If you have additional information that you wanted to assign to an event that isn't available out of the box with Localist, you can actually define custom fields. And we'll actually have a separate video that goes over how to add custom fields. But as you can see here, Columbia has a 25 live confirmation number. This is their room scheduler. And also they have a note for the approver. So if they wanted to leave a note for the editor to check with somebody before they approve the event, they can leave that here. If the event is sponsored, you can check this box. This will actually affect the weight of the event in the trending algorithm. So if we go to the home page for Columbia here, you can see there's this trending list. Well, let's say there's an event that isn't appearing on this trending list that we want to make sure is visible. We can mark that event as sponsored, and it will give the event a lot of weight in the algorithm, so it will always appear right at the top of the trending list. And similarly, you see up in here this featured events box. We have 2 events associated in that featured events box. If you wanted to make Ice Cream Social a featured event, you can simply choose featured events from the featured section dropdown, and it will be added to that box at the top of the home page. Under visibility here, a few choices. If the event is hidden, it actually won't appear anywhere. The only way you can access the event is if you know the URL to the event. So you would have to essentially send the URL to the people that you'd like to see the event. And visible only when logged in. This is a great feature for ensuring that only students and staff can see details on a specific event. So if I'm just a prospective student or potentially a person wanting to see what events are happening on Columbia's campus, I can go here without needing to log in and discover events. But let's say there's an event that's meant just for students or just for staff. I can say visible only when logged in, and then the user would actually need to log into the calendar to view the event. Hide from Maine Listings is a bit of a hybrid on the hidden setting. What this does is it actually hides the event from the main listings, meaning it won't show up in the trending list, it won't show up in the all events list, but if you go to the venue profile, it will appear. So it's just a good way to, if you wanted to add some more internal events and you didn't want them to clutter up the main listings, but you still wanted to keep track of them, then you can choose this Hide from Main Listings checkbox. And lastly, we have the Allows Reviews checkbox. This is simply, once the event happens, Localist will send a notification to any users that have said they're going, and it will ask them to review the event. So we can see here 46 users have said they're going to the event, the fall job fair. If you uncheck Allows Reviews, it won't allow users to review the event, and it won't send them a notification asking them to review the event. And the last few things to touch on here, the recurring schedule. So you can see here we have the dates that we added when we first saved the event. Let's say I wanted to add more. I can go in here, I see the last date is September 26th. So let's say I want to extend the new Ice Cream Social. So we can say it's the range should be from September 26th, and then we'll say it recurs daily through September 28th. Oh, and let's make sure to make that 2013. Now when I click Add Dates, the checkbox here, remove all not in this range. So what this did is it actually removes all the previous events and it only adds the dates that were in this the range that I specified. So if I wanted to bring back the old dates, I'd have to go back to September 21st and say Add Dates. And you'll see now it adds those in. So the great thing about setting recurring schedules like this is you're not locked into a schedule. When you create an event and you say, I want it to recur weekly, what happens if halfway through the schedule an event is canceled? If you're locked into that schedule, you wouldn't be able to remove it. But in Localist, you actually can. So let's say Wednesday's event, it's raining, and you don't want to have the event. You can actually just hit the delete button here, and now Wednesday's event is gone. Same thing for Thursday. So it's a great way just to modify individual dates, and you can even change the times for a specific date. So if the event is going to run at 3 p.m. one day, you can set that, and you can see all the other dates and times stay the same. The last thing to touch on as far as event fields are concerned is this possible duplicates. So we actually look in the system at any events you've added in the past or any upcoming events. And we'll check to see if the event you are adding has already been added before. So this is a great tool if you have several editors kind of manually curating events at once. You can just make sure that they're not doing any duplicate work. So we can see we're safe here. There's no past and no future ice cream socials found, so it's quite a unique event. So that covers adding and administering a single event.